I'm ready.
Establish your sight alignment.
Yes. Let me aim at the UAE flag.
Well done.
All right.
Establish your sight alignment. Hold your breath. In the name of God.
In the name of God.
Fire.
Should I test it?
As Iran boasts of tens of millions ready to mobilize, is Mojtaba Khamenei signaling a vision where an entire nation stands prepared to resist US pressure rather than bow to it? Under Mojtaba's watch, is Iran moving beyond training only professional soldiers and instead preparing whole families to play a role in defending the country if war returns? Beyond belief for many viewers abroad, is Iranian state TV now openly showing families learning how to handle weapons, framing it as a lesson in protection and sacrifice rather than aggression? As these drills expand, are mosques across Iran being used as dual spaces for prayer and basic defense training, reflecting how deeply the idea of resistance has entered everyday life? And when a trainee calmly talks about aiming at the UAE flag, is Iran signaling that its preparations now factor in not only the US and Israel, but also regional rivals across the Gulf? Amid a fragile ceasefire with the United States, Tehran is openly training civilians for the possibility that a new phase of conflict could erupt with little warning. On May 16th, Iranian state television broadcast images of civilians receiving defense training inside mosque compounds, presenting these activities as community-based preparation rather than secret camps. The report included men, women, teenagers, and entire families joining the drills, underscoring the message that every age group can contribute in some way to national defense. Footage from Avaz, Kerman, Bihar, Shiraz, and Zahedan showed similar scenes of family-style training, suggesting a coordinated effort across diverse regions rather than a single city experiment. Participants were seen handling light weapons and moving through simple, coordinated group exercises, learning basic skills such as aiming, movement, and communication under supervision. Broadcasters described the sessions as support and defense readiness training, emphasizing that the goal was to prepare volunteers mentally and physically for emergencies or external threats. State media reported that volunteers learned how to safely operate and assemble light firearms, turning what might once have been military-only knowledge into a wider civic capability. The drills were explicitly linked to Iran's Fada Baraye Iran mobilization campaign, which portrays participation as an act of devotion and readiness to sacrifice for the homeland. That campaign calls on Iranians to volunteer in response to perceived threats from the US and Israel, framing the posture as defensive resistance rather than an attempt to start a wider war. Iranian outlets have claimed that over 31 million people have registered so far, using the figure to suggest broad social backing for the idea of collective readiness. All of this is happening while Iranian officials continue to warn that hostilities could resume, using these televised drills to signal both resilience at home and deterrence abroad. Iranian state television broadcast live tutorials showing civilians how to handle AK-47 rifles. A rare public training initiative aired amid rising tensions with the United States. The state-run programs featured IRGC instructors demonstrating basic weapon handling, safety steps, and combat preparation techniques aimed at non-military audiences. Segments included step-by-step instruction on rifle use, marksmanship fundamentals, and field readiness routines, presented in a straightforward format that civilians could follow. In the program, the presenter also fired at the flag of the United Arab Emirates amid rising tensions between Tehran and Abu Dhabi. The unusual public training broadcasts have prompted questions among analysts about Tehran's internal security concerns and its intent in signaling preparedness to domestic and regional audiences. Those broadcasts came as reports suggested fresh US strikes on Iran could resume as early as next week, heightening regional alarm over possible escalation. The New York Times says both US and Israeli authorities are stepping up military preparations and reviewing a range of contingency options in response to the crisis. US officials are reported to be examining multiple military plans for possible escalation, from targeted strikes to more complex operations requiring significant resources. One scenario under consideration would deploy special forces to recover buried nuclear material, a high-risk mission intended to deny Tehran sensitive assets. Military experts warn such an operation could demand thousands of troops, extensive logistics, and carry a substantial risk of heavy casualties and wider conflict. Officials also say forces could be tasked with seizing Karg Island, a critical oil export hub, as part of efforts to disrupt Iran's economic lifelines. Another option being weighed is a renewed wave of intensified airstrikes across Iran targeting military installations, strategic infrastructure, and nuclear-related sites. Potential targets in that campaign would include military bases, facilities tied to missile and nuclear programs, and key transport or energy nodes supporting Iran's capabilities. The current military buildup and planning activity point to a possible return to open conflict after the diplomatic pause surrounding Trump's China visit, raising concern among regional partners. Iran launched the Hormuz Safe platform, signaling a concerted push to tighten Tehran's control over shipping and commercial activity in the Strait of Hormuz. Fast News reported the system will offer digital maritime insurance for ships transiting the route, a move Tehran says will protect commerce while placing oversight under Iranian authorities. The platform also enables payments in cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, adding a new financial layer intended to bypass conventional banking channels and sanctions constraints. The chairman of Parliament's National Security Committee said Iran designed a designated route system to regulate passage and direct vessels through supervised corridors. Ibrahim Azizi said only commercial vessels that cooperate with Iranian authorities and comply with new procedures will be allowed safe passage under the scheme. Azizi also warned that hostile countries, including the United States, could be barred from the designated route, tying access to political alignment and cooperation. Subsequently, the Iranian parliament speaker warned the world is on the cusp of a new order, framing the initiative as part of a broader shift in maritime and geopolitical arrangements. Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf said, and I quote, "I emphasize that the Iranian nation's 70-day resistance has accelerated this transformation. The future belongs to the global south." Unquote. Meanwhile, a former U.S. State Department official warned that Iran is unlikely to retreat from asserting its rights over the strait, stressing the durability of Tehran's posture. Alan Ayer said the U.S. faces no good way out as accumulating economic damage increases pressure and complicates options for de-escalation. Ayer noted that if Chinese ships receive preferential access under Iran's scheme, Beijing would have less incentive to pressure Tehran to change its behavior. He also suggested that recent US-China talks are unlikely to compel Tehran to back down, given Iran's new tools and strategic calculations. Those comments came as President Trump publicly claimed China had offered to help with the Iran war, assertions that intersect with growing debate over who controls access and influence in Hormuz. China's official readout and top diplomat statements have raised questions about Donald Trump's claims on Iran, since Beijing's account omitted several details he publicly highlighted. On May 15, China's foreign minister described the Xi-Trump talks as fruitful and wide-ranging, framing the summit as a substantive engagement across many policy areas. Wang Yi said the two leaders spent nearly 9 hours in exchanges that combined formal talks, state banquets and working meetings, underscoring the visit's intensity. He emphasized a tone of mutual respect, a shared commitment to peace and a willingness to expand cooperation, language aimed at calming tensions and deepening ties. Wang also said both sides agreed to build a more constructive relationship of strategic stability, signaling an interest in steadier, calmer US-China relations. However, China's official readout and Wang Yi himself made no mention of Iran's nuclear program, a notable omission given Trump's public statements on the subject. The readout likewise did not refer to any offer by Beijing to help resolve the Iran conflict, contradicting Trump's subsequent claims that she had offered assistance. That contrast stands in stark relief to Trump's assertion that she could influence Tehran on both uranium enrichment and the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. Beijing instead reiterated its consistent position calling for dialogue and de-escalation, favoring diplomatic steps rather than pressure or coercive measures. On the Strait of Hormuz, China said reopening should depend on a sustained ceasefire, a conditional formulation that stops short of endorsing external enforcement actions.